Okay, so
So, magical girls.
Madoka. So let's get into our show, Madoka Magica, or Madoka if you prefer to be wrong, I guess. This is something that Nina introduced to me a couple of years ago. I guess in 2011 when it premiered, and similar recently after it premiered. And you've loved it from the jump, right, Nina?
Yeah.
Talk about your experience with it.
Okay. So I had heard a bunch of stuff about it, going on the internet, and people kept talking about it. So I was like, "Hey, I'll check it out."
It
But
was a big thing for a minute.
for a long minute. I mean, it was the biggest anime of 2011.
For a literal year.
Yeah. But then I, went to college, and I was a little baby freshman, and I was looking for my place in the world, and I went to our little club day orientation, and there was an anime club, so I was like, I like anime! So I went to the anime club, and I talked to the people, and they were asking me, what anime did I like, and what I was thinking about watching, and I mentioned, I was about to get into Madoka Magica, and they're like, oh, wait, we're gonna watch it in club, so I was like, great! So I showed up to club, and I watched it in club, which was kind of cool, because it made me pace myself, because we only watched 2 episodes a week. So, yeah.
Huh.
So it was
What a
because we
foreign
watched other
concept
shows.
to me. I haven't been able to do that for anything for nearly a year.
God.
And it was kind of a neat way to really get yourself invested in it, like you were watching it. And I was, completely I think maybe we watched 3 episodes a week because there's 12 episodes.
Yeah, there's
That would
12
make more
episodes.
sense. Yeah, that's probably what we
Yeah.
did. Anyway. And
I mean-
I fell in love. I was like, this is so cray-cray. I love everything about this show. And it was a really emotional experience, and I got really attached to it, and I became a really big fan of it, and it just, I don't know, it opened so many anime doors for me to learn about other types of anime that do similar things, or that came before it and really influenced it, and got me into a lot of weird anime. And I spent a lot of that first semester just watching a lot of weird anime because I'd watched this one show and I wanted more stuff like that. So yeah, it's probably my favorite anime. I mean, that's a really hard question when people ask me, what's your favorite TV show or whatever, and it's
Yeah,
oh, no,
I can
God.
never answer those because I have way too. I love everything. I love everything
Everyone's
good.
your favorite.
So to me that's just the easy answer to say, because I do really, 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 really like it, and every single time I watch it I get completely sucked into it and cry like a little baby. So yeah.
I was the next person to watch it at Nina's insistence, because, I mean, you heard what she thought about this, knowing she wasn't going to try to share that. We watched it in, a day, I think, a day or two, and I liked it, but I didn't think that but I remember saying that I didn't think I got it, because I understand that there's a lot of metatext going on in Madoka, that it's something that's a version of magical girl tropes. Thing is, I had never seen anything magical girl.
Even Sailor Moon?
No, I didn't see any of it.
Wow.
I was too tough of a kid, and now that kid I was is dead. So now I'll watch Sailor Moon whenever. I still haven't, but I would. That's not the point. But I did. So I didn't get what it was subverting because I've never seen the tropes. I had to osmose the tropes. You got these transformation sequences and everybody's friends, and there's a talkie aminal, and it's a lot of fun. And then this wasn't fun. So I could only kind of get a small glimpse of the bigger things it was doing, but I felt that on its own it was a really strong show, and I loved a lot of the crazy imagery and the labyrinths. I thought that Homura's character arc was the best character arc ever. And then so I dug it, but I didn't think that much of it. Mainly just like, I don't have enough context for this to be as profound as it should be. And then I rewatched it again this week, and I'm like, this is probably my favorite anime too, honestly. Every character's super really good, and the music's great, and the animation is pretty solid. And I still haven't watched more magical girl shit, but I understand the tropes better, and I understand what it was doing better now. So yeah, I have a much better appreciation for it than I did 2 or 3 years ago whenever I watched it the first time. So, you know, I love this show. It's great. It's really great.
Yeah, so like I'd always known about it because even if I've never experienced a thing, I just know way too much about shit I haven't seen before. So like but luckily the only things that really got spoiled were basic plot stuff. In terms of how everything unfolded, it was all fresh to me, which I appreciated. But I grew up, you know, because Sailor Moon was a Toonami staple, and that was my jam after school. So I grew up on the Sailor Moon along with the Dragon Balls of Z. So I was well aware of the magical tropes because that's where they came from. So I definitely got it like immediately. I was like, okay,
actually, the first magical girl was by, of course, Tezuka. But no, I'm
Actually,
everything was by Tezuka.
Actually, the first magical girl was the chick from Bewitched. That's actually where the whole magical girl thing started. Was when they imported Bewitched to Japan.
Amazing.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Crazy.
I love it.
I'm thinking about doing my thesis on magical girls. So.
Please do.
That's delightful news.
So like I super dug this because like when I first heard tell about it, it didn't really click for me that it was like being subversive. I guess I wasn't back when that was first around. I wasn't really aware that was a thing that anime did sometimes. So, like, I was like, this just looks like a magical anime that's trying to take itself way too fucking seriously. So, I mean, like, and on some level it was, but there was a good reason for it that I didn't see just from people posting about, like, what 2 13-year-old girls they want to see kiss. So, like... and that's the other...
Only 2?
That's the... I mean, and that's the other problem. That's the other thing, like, which I think we'll get into more, that it's, like, for everything amazing it does... like a large chunk of the fan base just treats it like the exact thing it's trying to subvert, which is a problem with any kind of deep anime in general. So, like, I'm sure we'll get into that.
But we will once we talk about the third movie.
Yeah, we're gonna not try to bring up the third movie while we talk about the series because it throws. I feel like
it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it throws everything in a whole new context. So we're just gonna talk about the context of the series first.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you missed it, we keep talking about the third movie. The first 2 movies are just a straight adaptation of the series.
Yeah. And by adaptation, we mean like they mostly just took anime and clipped it together into 2 movies. 2 2-hour movies.
Well, no, they actually reanimated everything, even though it looked exactly the same. They actually reanimated it.
I read that they only reanimated some scenes.
Really? I thought they did. Whatever.
Because they do that.
It was all also re-voice acted.
Yeah, it was re-voice acted is what it was.
Yeah, okay. That was what it is. Yeah, I went to see the movie in a limited showing in New York City. The first 2 movies were shown back to back, and it was one of the greatest nights of my life. It was amazing. That music and fucking surround sound theatrical quality.
God, that does sound
fucking
baller.
rocks your world.
Yeah, Tooch and I haven't had a chance to see him yet because of busyness, but I'd really like to because, I mean, Nina said, like, the most noticeable changes to animation, like the fight scenes.
Like, there's one particular fight scene between Sayaka and Kyoko that is, like, straight up Guilty Gear.
Yeah, people are, like, Roman canceling and jumping, stalling, and doing all the other things I can't do in Guilty Gear. I'll never be good at that game.
Well, it's mostly because of, like, Kyoko's weapon is a very Guilty Gear-esque weapon. Because how it changes into a chain spear. And then back to a spear.
Yeah, but it's not like Ivy's weapon from Soul Calibur where they have to keep like it modeled consistently. It's like, oh, new frame? It's doing this now.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that's Guilty Gear. But as always, we can't talk about Guilty Gear. So we're going to talk about Madoka. Nina, you want to take the reins on the history and production of this show?
I'll try. I actually didn't have a chance to brief myself on the history, but I'll see what I can pluck. Right.
All I know is that the guy's called the Uro Butcher.
All right. Well, this show was the first show that Studio Shaft is the one who created the show, and they're really famous for a couple like stylistic things. They're known for doing kind of like weird, heady stuff. They're known for that particular pose where the character like bends over backwards to look at a character behind them.
Oh, you mean that one impossible thing they all can do with their necks, like some weird owl people? I didn't notice them doing that every 15 minutes.
Yeah, Studio Shaft does that in all of their...
Oh, wait, there's a shit ton... That just reminds me, there's a shit ton of owls for no reason in the third movie, but we're not going to talk about that movie.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the third movie that
I don't remember everything from the third movie, so yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, so it started with this guy named Akiyuki Shinbo, who expressed an interest to the producer for Aniplex, Atsuhiro Iwakami, that he wanted to create a new Magical Girl series, which eventually became the show we're talking about. During the early planning, they wanted to develop an anime that could appeal to a wider audience than the usual demographic of the Magical Girl genre. They wanted to be accessible to the general anime fan. And they ended up contacting Gen Urobuchi to work on the project as screenwriter, and somebody named Ume Aoki as the character designer, who's known for these very moe character designs. Moe, if you don't know what that is, how do I...
It's like ridiculously super cute aesthetic.
It's like so cute, it's kind of gross sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, like the eyes are taking up 2/3 to 3/5 of the fucking face.
It's like anime shih tzus.
Yeah. So, Gen Urobuchi is credited with writing the series. And he's written other stuff. He's worked on Fate Zero. He's worked on Psycho-Pass. He did this incredibly disturbing hentai visual novel called Saya no Uta. He's known for his dark style, nihilistic themes, and tragic plot twists, earning him the fan nickname the Uro Butcher. So, there you go. But as far as like production stuff, they were really just concerned with coming up with a high-quality piece of entertainment. They wanted something original because the studio hadn't worked on anything original for a while, and they wanted to put the best talents together that they could. And all that they requested from Urobuchi was that they wanted the storyline to be heavy. Which,
See, they succeeded.
And Shinbo also specified that he wanted it to contain blood and violence and other unusual magical girl stuff. And the director also specifically sought out for many of the magical girl characters to be killed throughout the series. And Urobuchi admitted that he had no problem with these requirements whatsoever. And the objective was for the script to starkly contrast with the way the anime was to be marketed, which they succeeded very well in doing so, as people could tell you. Because it starts off, very innocent and pure, but then is deliberately concealing these very dark and undertones. And, what happened for a lot of people in Japan when this was airing was that they thought it was a kids' anime. So kids actually watched like the first 2 episodes, and people were like, oh, this looks like a really well done, thoughtful magical girl anime, but still appropriate for children. And then once the 3rd episode came on and more episodes came on, it became increasingly clear that this was not for children, and I'm sure it was a little bit traumatic for some poor individuals. And they did a really great job trying to hide all of this. I mean, Urobuchi purposely misled fans on his Twitter, trying to convince them that the plot was like very innocent and there wasn't really anything going on. I mean, the entire opening sequence is basically just a bait and switch of like the kind of show that they're trying not to be.
And then the ending sequence was different for the first 2 episodes too, just like a complete boring,
Yeah,
shitty, girly,
yeah.
cutesy song, and then like I think that like for the instead of like having next time bumpers, they just have some like fan art.
Yeah.
Which I was like, where did that come from? This is the first episode.
Yeah. Now I actually think I wasn't aware of like all the marketing and everything. I felt like, and maybe this is just because I knew it was going to happen because I was not, on the ground floor of this show. I knew there was some shit rumbling underneath.
I
mean, you could tell shit was rumbling underneath.
Yeah, because I mean that cold opening in the first episode is some pretty weighty shit.
That's chilling.
And then it's
though.
like the goofy bubblegum pop song. Like if it had started after the theme song stuff, like say I came in 3 minutes late, I'd be like, oh, this is some pretty cute generic nonsense. I don't care. I feel like there was just an ominous tone leading up to that event in the third episode to the point where I was honestly not that surprised by it.
Yeah, no.
I knew something really bad was going to happen.
I mean, let's be honest. Anytime QB's on screen, I'm unsettled.
Yeah. And
like,
everything was incredibly
Get this cat away from me.
And everything was, like, really meticulously constructed, because Urobuchi used this technique that he learned working with some previous influences on him in other projects, where the first episode's purpose is to throw the viewer into a specific part of the story with unknown context. The second episode exists to define the particular rules governing the story setting. And then the third episode would be responsible for divulging the revelation in the plot so as to hook the viewer.
I like it.
Yeah. And the decision was pretty controversial at first. The production staff was really asking him to reconsider a lot because of their fondness for the character, and they're like, look, we haven't even spent any time with this character. Why are you doing this? But he refused. And, he realized that it was upsetting for people, but he says, I always thought this is an age where entertainment basically is about soothing and healing, like adopting a style where unchanging day-to-day life is to continue forever. And he kind of, is against that. And there's
Anarchy.
There's all kinds of stories in the staff of, people, like the actors, for instance, had no idea what was going to happen. Like the actress who played Kyubey wanted to play the role because she had always wanted to be a mascot character in an anime.
She just wanted to be Luna.
Yeah, she always wanted to be one of those characters, and she had no clue.
That makes me so sad.
And like, Sayaka, a character later, has some tragic things happen to her, and the voice actress actually, like, pleaded with Urobuchi if, like, they could change it. Not only her, but, like, other people on the staff was like, you're not really gonna kill off this character, are you? And he's like, yeah.
She's already
part
dead.
Of the story. Like,
she's dead to me.
Like, for him, he believes the overarching plot of a story is more important than the characters within it. So he'll do anything with the characters for the sake of the story, whether producers want him to or not, or actors or whatever. Hence his nickname, where can be kind of heartless towards people's affections toward these. I
mean, like, it's
characters.
not. It's to be like to his credit. It's not as if killing them off and doing all this shit with them harmed sales of their merchandise at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
People love the shit out of Mommy and all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All those Mommy head merchandise things. That USB drive.
She had the biggest titties.
Well, that too.
I don't know how I didn't notice that the first time around, but she's got really big titties, and I'm like, isn't she like 12?
No, because she's well, I mean, I think
she's 1 year older.
I think they're supposed to be like.
Couple.
I think they're supposed to be like 14, and then she's supposed to be like 16.
I thought she was like 15 and they were like 13.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to tell because
it also doesn't matter because regardless, they're babies. This is an anime about babies.
Young.
Yeah, because I mean, like, yeah, they're all middle schoolers, but like the adults look exactly as old. Maybe like 3 years,
Can I just fucking say,
babies having babies?
Speaking of adults, my favorite characters in this entire series are Madoka's parents.
Her parents are all amazing. I love them.
They are the greatest. Especially the mom. But the dad is just cute.
Your dad's
That
cute
is
too.
that is a cute dad.
He's the cutest, and her little brother,
Yes.
so sweet.
I never got tired of that. I never got tired of that sequence where she wakes her mom up in the morning, and I'm glad I never got tired of it because Lord knows it happened a lot.
Yeah, so the show happened. It kind of created a phenomenon. Everybody was like, "What is this?" Because nobody was expecting it. Which is interesting because it's not like it's the first time a magical girl show has done some crazy shit before. Even Sailor Moon in its last few seasons did some pretty crazy shit. And of course there was Utna in between all of this. So like,
Yeah,
but
that's the thing. Like, assholes are always like, "Oh, Madoka sucks. Just Utna. Utna did it better 15 years ago. They did completely different things. Shut up."
yeah, I feel
Yeah,
like
they're really different shows.
they are very different, and they come from very different angles. They're definitely related, and they address similar kinds of themes, but they're different.
But they both have sequel movies that.
Yeah, but still, like, this really
I
blindsided a
would
lot of
take
people. Like,
Rebellion a trillion times before the fucking Utna movie.
The fucking seething hatred dripping from every word.
I would have to strongly disagree because at least the Utna movie doesn't.
We'll get into it.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, this show really it was a ridiculous phenomenon for the entire industry. Like, it kind of revitalized this whole magical girl thing because there hadn't really been that much stuff going on in the genre, like just outside of just for little tiny itty bitty babies.
Yeah, like I don't even know that many like magical girl animes off the top of my head. The only one I know about is like that one series that like every show it's a new continuity kind of. I forget what it's called though. Like they made they brought over a couple of them, like Magical Girl Do-Re-Mi when they dubbed it over. That was part of that series, I think.
Yeah, and I guess Tokyo Mew Mew is technically
Yeah.
Magical Girl. And,
Oh no, that's absolutely Magical Girl. Tokyo Mew Mew and
Cardcaptor
oh,
Sakura.
oh yeah, I forgot
Well,
because that's also super different, but it is still Magical
yeah,
Girl.
I mean, Cardcaptor Sakura is sort of the epitome of the show that this show is trying to discuss, I guess, or critique.
Because it's really vapid.
It's not that it's really vapid, it's just that it's just so innocent. Well, maybe vapid. I don't know. I've never actually seen Cardcaptor Sakura, but it's really innocent, and it has all these tropes. Like, even more so than Sailor Moon, because Sailor Moon did have some dramatic stuff in it, and, actual problems. But were things
I watched the dub of Cardcaptors, and obviously it was a butchering of the original, but, what was there, I mean, I watched a lot of it. I thought it's entertaining.
Cardcaptor is really entertaining show, and it's super cute, but, I guess it's just sort of the epitome of the sweet show where everything is just kind of as it is on the surface, and she's really just going on these adventures and trying to get all those cards and
right. There's no greater subtext. There's nothing underneath.
And there's no even with Sailor Moon, she had to deal with the fact that she had this magical destiny and crap, and how she was actually a different person that she thought she was her entire life, and all this stuff, and people did die, and there were things going on. Where Sakura was it was fun, and and there's nothing wrong with fun. It's just the kind of show that this show is talking about. But anyway,
this show has a problem with fun.
Yeah, would you say that Sailor Moon Crystal would not exist without Madoka?
I don't know.
I
don't
honestly
think so.
I mean, Sailor Moon is so big, and it's because Crystal was produced in succession with the anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
It was
okay.
It was an anniversary thing, so I think it still would have been a thing. Because Sailor Moon's just never, as far as I've seen, Sailor Moon's never been a thing that's gone away.
No, it's never stopped being.
It's the Dragon Ball Z of its thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's had influence on other anime shows that have come out, at least within this immediate generation. The aesthetics in particular. Anyway. So
where do we want to start talking about this show? Because we're so spoily in this. in order, like out of necessity, I have to assume everybody's watched it. Do we want to just start biting into it?
Yeah, I feel like that's. I feel like that's fair because like
All right.
I think our fan base knows by now that like if they want to see something that we cover, they shouldn't listen to that episode.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple people been like, I can't wait to watch this show so I can listen to your episode on it. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're smart.
Yeah, our fans are smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart Goonsters.
You guys are smart. I love you.
So, let's talk about, like, for the sake of someone like me who's got just a remedial knowledge of magical girl tropes, what exactly this is doing to deconstruct them. And maybe I'll start by, picking up what I can.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a really loaded and interesting question in and of itself, but
Okay.
I feel like the basic stuff, like the basic stuff, is easy to see.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, when I first watched it, I didn't really get any of this because I, didn't really know the tone of magical girl stuff, and the tone of the stuff I had watched was generally darker. But I think the central thing is the idea that that being a magical girl, that there could be any downside to it, and especially a downside so a burden so big, such a huge sacrifice that would have to go into this, that it's not really it's not really this fun, super fun thing like it is everywhere else. It's like it's a curse, effectively. Yeah. They use the word zombie in the show, but they are liches. They are literally liches.
They are liches that turn into witches.
What? I just gained a whole new level of understanding.
Okay, well, that's a great start, definitely.
And I think possibly the other thing that Madoka doesn't do anything. Like, she's set up as this main character, but she's kind of just, like, stumbling through other people's stories until the very end.
Yeah, that was another, like, marketing thing they did where, all the promotional stuff, she was in her magical girl costume, and the whole show is named after her. But she only turns into a magical girl in the last episode, and everybody was watching the show, and they're like, I remember watching the show for the first time being like, is she gonna turn into a magical girl?
Yeah, so when is this happening?
It made you want it, so then you would immediately regret ever wanting it.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, there's a lot of ripping the rug out from underneath you.
Yep. But I guess, like, the biggest subversive thing it does, say the card captor sort of magical girl, or even the Sailor Moon magical girl, is this idea that the power of the magical girl comes from their purity, of, like, their pure friendship, or pure love, or just pure goodness, and everything. And this show makes it so that's not really the case, where these powers don't exist for the sake of making the world a better place. Because Magical Girls is always about girls that using the power of love and friendship battle evil and save the world.
Yeah.
They don't do that in this show.
That's the con, but it turns out, no.
Yeah, that's what most, Sailor Moon does that, Sakura,
Crappy Saki.
Capsack does it, That's typically what it is. And then, you sort of have the balance between the magical girl life and her regular life as a schoolgirl and keeping the secret and, balancing her powers and whatever. It's like a kind of superhero thing, but like the powers come from these very honest and good places, and it's all good, and you're supposed to trust it. When this magical cat or little monkey lion dude with wings shows up, and it's like, congratulations, you have a magical destiny.
Congratulations, you won.
You're a wizard, It's you're a wizard, Ari.
Basically,
it's the same thing.
Things just fall from the sky, and suddenly your life is cool.
It's that whole question of like suspension of disbelief, where it's like, because a genre is so understood that like everybody sort of has a weird realization when they're talking about it, and somebody goes, well, now wait a minute, what if that actually happened for real? Wouldn't you be super fucking freaked out and terrified? And then everyone goes like, oh yeah, I guess realistically that is what would happen, because this is actually like, because it's so fantastical no one even considers, like, well, what if somehow that were possible? What if some, like, space aliens with technology far surpassing our own actually gave us all these horrifying abilities and burdens and responsibilities and changed our lives in so vast a way that our own reality crumbles every hour?
And it's not just that, it's the wishing thing. In this show, a magical girl becomes a magical girl by making a wish. And
that's always bad news.
It's
in
really
fiction.
true that the show deconstructs this power of heart thing that magical girls have. You know, all the magical girls are all, you know, hearts, Captain Planet. That's where their power comes from, you know. And it draws attention to this by the fact that the stuff that the girls are wishing for, their heart's desires, if you will, are never as pure and noble as these kinds of shows would make you believe. Because they're human beings and they're flawed. And just because they're young girls doesn't mean they're these perfect little angels that are the key to peace and love and happiness. And, you know, the tragedy ultimately becomes reality because their desires are often selfish and unclear.
And often couched in good intentions, but...
totally.
It's couched...
intentions that they perceive as good.
But it's masked under selfish desires, and it's this perceived goodness. Instead of just being direct about what they want, they have to hide it with these sort of virtues of, I want to protect this person, or I want people to believe, or I want to blah blah. They have to hide it with these
specifically, you know, Sayaka's wish. She's like, I want to help Kyosuke? Okay, here's the thing. There's a character in the show named Kyosuke and a character in the show named Kyoko. Isn't that like having a show with with characters named Robert and Roberta?
Yeah, they're Bimmy and Jimmy.
I want Kyosuke to be able to play again because he's the most beautiful violinist in the world and everyone wants to hear. She just wants to kiss his dick.
She just wants to date him. And, you know, and it's framed in this light where she's this, oh, I'm so selfless. And, like, one of the things that, you know, Homura and the other characters...
I have a savior complex!
Did anyone else find it super messed up that she only wished for his hands to get better and he still had to go through leg rehab? That was super fucked up.
Exactly, because it wasn't a pure wish. It was framed like it was, but it's not. And even the other characters, in a way, like, you know, Kyoko, what she wanted was for her family to be back to normal. But she framed it in this way, like, I want to help my father. But what she wanted was for her family to get its shit together and be nice.
She wanted her family to have money for snacks.
And for Homura, you know, she says, I want to save Madoka. But what she wanted was for Madoka to be with her. You know, she wanted nothing bad to happen.
But then everything bad happened.
Exactly. So it's like, when you take on these, like... And then Sayaka herself as a character, and Mami, by an extension, that, you know, discussion that they have with Kyoko about, you know, you think that these magical girls are these righteous heroes, that they're the protectors of the earth, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's not what it's about.
Yeah, honestly, Mami was like, when Mami showed up and started spouting all the cliche magical girl nonsense, I was like, get her out of here, because she doesn't know what she's talking about, because obviously there's more shit going on that she is just not even... She's like so all about the magic girl stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh man, you're so smart, and you're the almost de facto leader because like you know all this magic girl stuff." Nah, whoops, beheaded. Good, that's your fault.
Yeah. And
whoa.
It's like...
Yeah, I didn't enjoy Mami at first that much, so I didn't care.
Yes, I mean basically
she
all
was
these
very
guys.
lonely. I feel bad for her.
I did by the end of it. It took me like half this show to really get invested. When it was revealed about how their soul gems worked, I laughed out loud for like 5 straight minutes because they're just eggs now. They're egg children.
Yeah. Really, what they're become magical girls and they work as magical girls basically to pay off gambling debts.
Yeah. And ultimately, they're not making a difference because eventually everything equals out.
Eventually, the mob's gonna come in and throw you in a river.
I mean, but like, technically...
Nobody ever pays off their gambling debts. They always get killed by the mob.
I mean,
The mob should stop lending money to gamblers.
Technically, they're trying to save the universe. They just don't know that. Because if they did know that, they wouldn't agree to it. Because, like, their, like, tiny human minds can't. Like, it's like that, and that's what makes QB so interesting. Like, he's only the villain because, like, he's a race of emotionless cat things who are a hive mind. So they're like, I mean, the universe is gonna end. We need to do whatever's necessary. Why don't you stupid humans get it? Why are you crying? Stop. What?
Yeah,
hey.
This is what Orobuchi had to say about Kyubey. He isn't evil. It is his lack of feelings that makes him scary. And then he elaborated about the whole moral ambiguity by saying, Al-Qaeda brought down the Twin Towers due to their self-righteousness.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Justice for life. Justice for some people is an evil for others. Good intentions, kindness, and hope will not necessarily make people happy.
That's not the same.
Okay.
I don't think.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Holy shit.
This is what I was thinking.
Butchered.
What Kyubey is trying to pull is a Spock needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Spock said that we should milk people to death.
Yeah, no. Like, he's like a super Spock.
Yeah.
I mean, for example...
Kyubey's such a grade A son of a bitch.
I love, but
he's
like,
genius.
He's a really great villain. I love Kyubey.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the story comes from Faust. You know, if you don't know what Faust is, it's the famous...
Read a book.
I mean, there's many versions of the Faust.
I know. Hey, wait, have we talked... I feel like we've talked about Faust before relating to something.
Faust and Guilty Gear. Keep going, Nina.
No, like, because, the story, like, I'm getting deja vu.
I mean, Faust comes up a lot.
Faust is like every third story.
Ah.
It's a specific Faust. Goethe's Faust, or Goethe's Faust?
I think it's Goethe.
Goethe?
I think it's Goethe.
Okay. Goethe's Faust, specifically. And there are a lot of obvious
Big
parallels. You know, making the deal with the devil, but not because you want power, because that was the interesting thing about Faust that people don't always remember, because if you don't actually read the book. He didn't make the deal with the devil because he wanted to be, like, super powerful. He wanted to learn shit. He wanted to know all the things so he could be a more learned person and help people. At least in one version of the story, that was the deal. And it wasn't a devil, it was a demon. What's his face? Mephistopheles or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. And in a sense, it's like, this is similar in a way where you have these individuals making these deals, selling their souls for what they believe will be beneficial to them and their world, but is actually the opposite in a lot of ways, and things just kind of get out of hand and move beyond them. And there are a lot of, like, pretty obvious, like, direct quotes and stuff. Like the very first shot of the series, when the curtains rise and there's that title card, it reads "Prologue im Himmel," which is the title of the prologue of Goethe's Faust. And there's a lot of quotes, like, just all over the place in the show. You won't know it because the show has not one, not two, but 3 separate rune languages.
I was gonna ask about those. Like, they look
Good
like
Lord.
They look like Hylian.
Yeah, they're 3 complete alphabets. I mean, there is a quote in episode 2 that's just like graffiti on the wall that's just straight up German. But,
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so, like, once you translate those rune alphabets, most of it is German. And a lot of it is taken from Faust. Or it's not Faust, and it's just random German, because that's our aesthetic we've got going on here. And a lot of creepy poems, and lots of little tiny Easter eggs and stuff, like how in that ending sequence when Madoka is spinning in the eye, that face like resembles the the poster for the film Mephisto, which is another Faust story with like, the dark, creepy face. And there's a lot of those little kind of undercurrents in there. That's an important thing to note when you're trying to like read into the series. And there's other like mythological things happening or other stories. Like Sayaka in particular is tied to the Little Mermaid because of when her witch form, she has a mermaid tail.
Yeah.
And like Madoka's witch name is Gretchen, which is the name of Faust's first lover in the story, and all this stuff.
Can I just jump ahead to something and ask what the hell is the contextual significance of what the hell was that final boss witch called Waluigi?
Walpurgisnacht is a holiday that is, I think, similar-ish to May Day. It's a pagan thing, Germanic.
Uh-huh.
It's a holiday. You got any more than that? I just wanted to butt in to give my incomplete knowledge.
Thanks, Mickey. Walpurgisnacht is it was mentioned in Faust. Let me find the exact thingy. Yeah. It's from the night of April 30th to May 1st. So
so it's coming up.
Yeah.
Great! We did that on purpose to prove we didn't.
It's a German holiday, but it's not really something you celebrate. It's the night when witches are supposed to hold a large celebration and await the arrival of spring. Variations on these myths either say that, depending on whether you're Christian or pagan, say it's like a good thing, and if you're Christian, it's like they fornicate with the devil and stuff. So it's a gathering of witches.
So it's a great thing.
Yeah. There is a scene in Gertrude? No, it's not Gertrude.
Goethe.
Goethe's Faust
Think like Great Goethe, sister of Big Bertha.
Yeah.
Cousin of Large Marge.
There are chapters in Goethe's Faust entitled Walpurgisnacht.
Waluigi's not.
It's essentially a gathering of witches, which
so
led people
night,
to
yes.
believe that the witch at the end of the show is not one witch, but perhaps many. And I believe
I did notice that
been confirmed.
Yeah, because there was a shit ton.
It started as one witch, but like over time, it just like grew into
one witch fell down a really tall hill and bumped into another one, and they just kept going.
Sure, I'm sure it was that lighthearted. And...
It's the one lighthearted thing.
It's a snowball. That's why they're all upside down and spinning around and shit. Yeah, it's crazy shenanigans those witches get up to. We don't know. We kill a couple people. We're not doing that. It's fun times.
Well, there's a lot of the stuff with the witches is things like that. All the witches have names that you see
in runes.
Is the official Madoka website has a lot of this information that wasn't in the show itself, where they give you more background information about the witches.
Yeah, because I did notice that each one is themed based on how they lost their shit.
Yeah, and for Walpurgisnacht, it's the description is the stage constructing witch. Her nature is helplessness. She symbolizes the fool who continuously spins in circles. The witch's mysteries have been handed down through the course of history.
So she represents Hamura?
Yes. Wow. She will continue to rotate aimlessly throughout the world until she completely changes the whole of this age into a drama.
Holy crap.
When the doll's unusual upside-down position reaches the top part of the witch, she completely rolls the civilization on the ground in a flash through her gale-like flight. So, they're like Pokemon cards, but for these witches, and and there's one for all of them, every single one that appears in the series.
Awesome.
So if you want to look into that and you haven't beforehand, there's some kind of neat stuff in there.
Flavor text.
Yeah, because
text.
The first time I watched it, my dumbass was like, "Oh, I really like the imagery in the labyrinths, but it just seems like kind of random shit. It's not like any.
Where the fuck's David Bowie at?
There we go. It doesn't seem like there's any kind of consistent shit. Like, what are all those wheels in Sayaka's? That doesn't make any sense. They're train wheels, dipshit. You stupid man.
They're train wheels, but it's also a reference. I wrote this down. Let me find it. Let me find it.
While you look for it, because the trains, because that's where she killed those fuckboys.
Yeah, that was actually based on a conversation that Urabuchi heard on the subway.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
And then he killed him and became the Uro Butcher. And he's been at large for 4 years.
Can we get like a hilariously over the top dramatized like story based on the production of Madoka Magica? And he's just this tyrant that's like everybody on the staff is just like afraid of him. He'd direct it.
Okay. So this is where one of the theories for where the wheels come from. Her witch name is Octavia von Zeckendorf. And
okay.
That sounds like a name of a character in a steampunk burlesque.
Or like sounds like one of the Willy Wonka kids. That sounds like the Willy Wonka kid that didn't even make it to the gate. She fell down the sewer.
Octavia has to do with like music. But the Zeckendorf is named after the German poet Karl von Zeckendorf, who wrote the poem The Wheel of Fate. Hence why she's throwing wheels at everybody. And the Wheel of Fate is probably a reference to like the famous like Christian song, The Wheel of Fate.
The wheel in the sky keeps on turning. I love that
song. I was gonna say Circle of Life. We've all got good, wrong, funny things to say.
No, it's like that creepy Latin shanty song. Because her whole deal is, her music and her stupid fate being dumb and whatever. But yeah, everything is related to something. Like also, the other most notable witch is probably, her name is Charlotte. She's the witch who eats mommy. And her background is that she
eated too much candy.
Well, she's a dessert witch. Well, the reason why is because when we see the grief seed manifest, it's right outside of the hospital. And it was almost immediate because her transformation from magical girl to witch was almost instantaneous because she was a really little girl and her mother was dying. And her mother said that she wanted to eat like one last piece of cheesecake before she died. So Kyubey, when he left the girls for a little bit, came across this little girl and was like, "Hey, you want me to grant you a wish?" And she was like,
"You want some cheesecake?"
And she was like, "I just want a slice of cheesecake for my mommy." And so she got it, and then she was like, "Wait, I could have just cured my mommy." And then she immediately turned into a witch. So that's why in her labyrinth, it's a lot of medical shit and also sweets and candies and like weird juvenile stuff because she's a little girl. And it says, the witch says, the dessert witch with a tenacious nature. She desires everything. She will never give up. Though she is capable of creating infinite amounts of any dessert she desires, she is unable to make the cheese that she loves most. Just kind of like a little miniature twisted version of her story. So there's a lot of those kind of little tiny things for a lot of these witches. She's the witch that we know the most about, but a lot of the other witches is kind of more speculation based on these clues that we have. She and obviously like Octavia, because we know Sayaka really well, so we can tell what everything is a reference to in her labyrinth. But yeah, there's a lot of little details. That's one of the things I love about this show. Yeah. There's so many little details.
A lot of mythos to unpack.
The deets.
There's so much. Like, the fucking Puella Magi wiki. Oh my god, I spend like days on this shit.
Yeah, one thing that Tooch mentioned when he first started watching it is like, what's with all these subversive magical girl shows and crazy bananas architecture?
Yeah, that too.
And you said like, oh, well, the wiki has all of the answers.
Well, yeah, there's like a whole article about the architecture. They just want to have fun with it. So a lot of the crazy buildings in the show are actually based on real buildings, like throughout the world, like all over the world.
There is a building where it's most just glass inside.
I believe that one is a Swedish prison.
I was gonna say like that's actually a crazy effective place for prison because like everyone can see your shit.
That's the one psychological reason to construct this entire prison.
And like,
so everybody has to look at them shit.
And this like clever ass motherfucker's like, and that symbolizes that middle school is prison.
My only thought was like, just because like schools especially are such a like, you don't want anything bad to happen. You go through all these drills, all this shit. Like if some natural or otherwise disaster would strike, that entire building, everybody in that building would be covered in glass.
Yeah, people are just gonna get shredded. One thing I loved about what?
I'm just trying to make sure that that was right. I'm not sure.
One thing I loved about the glass school is that there's one scene where like Madoka and Sayaka are walking by and Homura's waiting for them, hiding from them, but she's hiding behind a pane of glass.
Well, my whole thing is like one of them was like walking by like outside in the hallway, and the entire class is like, "Oh, look, it's her," and I'm like, "That's what would happen. That's what would happen." Because it's like you ever been like walking down the hallway and just glance in the little window of a door, and like you see your friend, and you like walk up to it and like make shitty faces. Like imagine that, but the whole fucking wall.
That's all these people are doing.
Yep, all day.
Yeah, apparently the famous hallway where Homura is first like, Madoka,
she does that turnaround foot. She does that turnaround foot thing, which is paralleled in episode 10, and I caught that. I'm like, oh crap! I caught a thing. It's not like
that's
a huge
apparently
thing.
Based on the 100th floor of the Shanghai World Financial Center.
Huh.
The most romantic place on earth.
Like, it's crazy. If you're an architecture junkie, like, people have done some wonderful work documenting all this stuff. So, like, even the fucking bus stop is from Brazil. Like it's from Curitiba.
Oh, I thought you meant the movie Brazil.
No. It's from
That's why I laughed.
Curitiba, Brazil.
Do they just live like? Is this city secretly Epcot?
That's what Mitagahara means. It's Japanese for Epcot.
Yes, they're in Disney Japan. They're in Disney World Japan.
I think that like the reason why they made the architecture so crazy, like one is because it was fun for them as artists to do, but two is also to sort of create this kind of isolating, cold, sterile sort of environment for all this stuff to be happening.
Yeah, it's so very clear that no real place looks like this.
It feels very separate from everything that's going on with the girls themselves. Like everything that the city is not really relevant to who they are and what they're doing.
What would they be doing with themselves if they weren't magical girls? There's nothing to do but like stand around giant arcs and be contemplative and introspective.
There's the mall.
I guess, yeah.
And there's pretty fields, I guess.
Then again, that's life. Hey, what's there to do? I don't know. There's a fucking mall. What else? Nothing.
We can play Dance Dance Revolution. Oh, I can't do this with you anymore. It's 2015. We have to stop playing Dance Dance Revolution.
God.
My favorite piece of unintentional comedy in this actually ties into some of the subversion stuff. Part of with the whole bait and switch is that these characters are like super moe and cute. They're like, like primo moe Sislak, and
moe Sislak.
But like it's hilarious when these kids are trying to act all pro ice, but they've got the fattest fat fuck faces. It's most egregious with Homura. She's like trying to act all tough, and it's like, your face is so fat.
You're so cute. You're so I gotta pinch those cheeks.
I mean, I think that's again on purpose. It's like
you could get like a fistful of cheek to pinch.
My thing was like when they were first like when Sayaka and Madoka are contemplating their wishes, and they're just like having this super like heavy talk of like, man, like, it's so fucked up. I don't even know what I want out of life. I guess that makes me a loser. You're like 13. You don't know anything. Stop. Like, oh God, this shouldn't happen until you're in your 20s. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it was very much like 20-year-old dialogue coming out of 13.
I felt that way.
I didn't.
I mean,
when you were 13, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, when you're 13, the idea that you are capable of being selfless is just completely out of the question.
Not even that, just like they think that they're lesser because they're unable to make this heavy decision that most fucking adults wouldn't be able to do correctly.
It's
like they give themselves so much burden, and that's part of a couple of their characters. But overall, it's just like, man,
I mean, some people do that to themselves. Like, that's why I related to this show so much, because I have all of these fucking complexes.
Yeah, you made a goof about this on Twitter, but like I think it really is. It could absolutely be seen as an analogy for. I mean, I don't know that much about the Japanese schooling system, but American schooling system, you have to choose what you're going to do for the rest of your life as a baby.
Basically, yeah.
Oh, you finish high school. You're definitely an adult now. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? I don't know. I've been in fucking high school. I haven't done anything.
Basically, they hand you the freaking diploma, and it's like, oh, what, you don't got a job? You fucking failure? But enough about my life.
I mean, I don't know, I feel like that's a modern problem that's pushed on a lot of kids in education.
It absolutely is.
You're made to feel like you need to know what you're doing.
I think it's more that I don't want it to be true. I want to believe that even that middle schoolers still cling to some carefreeness of childhood, because Lord knows they absolutely should be able to.
No, they're all too busy trying to look like they don't care about anything.
They're all too busy counting their pubes. Because they're capable.
That's the one thing they care about, but they can't let anybody know that they care about their pubes itch.
Yeah. And
then eventually they'll get older and it's like, I don't give a shit about my pubes itch.
Do I shampoo them? Is that weird? I don't know who to ask. I don't want that in my Google history.
I'll Bing it. Nobody will look at that.
No, the government's not watching Bing.
Oh, dear.
There's no darknet. It's actually just Bing. They go through Bing.
This is what how Microsoft should advertise Bing.
What's happening right now? I was reading my notes and you guys started talking about Bing. And I looked up and
you guys were talking about fucking Bing of all things.
So the name of the show, Puella Madoka Magica, a lot of people are like, what?
Isn't that just magic, Madoka magic?
A girl magic, Madoka magic.
Okay.
What's Mina's real thing?
So, part of it, obviously, like, there's that big revelation where Kyubey is like, oh, no, they're called magical girls, so what better fate for them than to be turned into witches? Because in the Japanese, the word for magical girl is maho shoujo, and maho is witch. It's witch girl, again, because it came from bewitched. So it's always been connected. But Puella Magi is Latin, obviously. And it could mean like girl of the sorcerer, or girl of the magic. But Puella literally means a young girl, but it is derived from puerulis, which means a young slave.
Oh. No!
Oh, by the way, after I made the Teen Girl Squad joke, I looked up any kind of fan art of crossing over Teen Girl Squad with Madoka, and obviously it exists, and they made a Hamura what's-her-face.
Oh my god. But yeah, that was what resonated with me the most, was this whole witch magical girl thing, because I believe it was Kyubey who said, those magical girls are destined to become witches, or those magical girls who fall into despair and can't live up to these roles set before them become witches. And I sort of took that in a more like general social context, where it's like girls who are painted as these magical, wonderful, perfect, angelic beings who are like the spirit of life and beauty and whatever. It's inevitable that they can't live up to that image because it's a false one.
Yeah.
So they will become witches in society, or they'll become like these corrupted women, or these bad women, or these ugly women, and Exactly. And I really, really loved how they tied it to women in history. Like,
yeah, I forgot about that. That was baller as fuck.
Like, Joan of Arc and Cleopatra.
Where's that EU?
And fucking Anne Frank and all these people.
Oh, one of them was Anne Frank? Hot damn.
Yeah, I want some EU light novels of that shit.
Well, there was one scene of what was obvious, which was a cattle train with all the Jews. I mean, it was a lot more spacious than in reality, but you could clearly see a yellow star on the girls' clothing.
Dang.
And there was some, like, Japanese thing, like some building on fire. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I don't remember her name, but, she's a very controversial, kind of like Cleopatra, like she's this very controversial historical figure that sort of symbolizes everything that's wrong with female power.
Two things.
Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
One thing, Cuba is like the humans with the most emotional potential are females within adolescence, and I'm like, I don't think Cleopatra or Joan of Arc were that young.
Joan of Arc was very young.
Yeah,
Joan of Arc was 13.
They actually were.
Okay.
History likes to age them up so it's not creepy and sad.
Joan of Arc was a really she was like 13 when she took her parents to court to make her get married.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Thanks, American education system.
And Cleopatra was pretty young too, because once you get your period,
You're good to go.
You're good to go.
And the other thing is that, who I want to see an EU novel about is that African magical girl.
Yes, that one. She was cute. I like that one.
I want a whole series of that.
I mean, I'd like to know about all these magical girls, especially about a lot of the ones we saw as witches.
Yeah, man.
That would be really interesting. So that whole episode, I don't remember what episode it was. I want to say it's like episode 10. Where
Episode 10 was the Homura one.
Okay, that one also was really important.
We're coming right back to that. I've got a point I want to make about that, but your thing.
But that episode with Kyubey being like, this is what magical girls are, and they exist for us, and your civilization wouldn't have been able to advance without us, and we do all of this because of entropy, and we don't treat you guys any worse than you treat your cattle, and all this stuff about the history of women in history. The history of women.
The history of women's history.
The history of women's history.
Part 1.
And like putting it into this context of like this pure girl destined to fall into despair and turn into a witch for everyone to hate and despise, like just felt very real to me. And like I still, when I think about it, I'm just like, man, it's like so.
That's so powerful.
Fucking true and powerful, and like, god damn it.
Yeah, that's one of the most quintessential evils of patriarchy is the idea that we create this standard for women that's impossible and then demonize them for not meeting it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's where Kyubey gets his power. Is from doing these to little girls. And it's just,
Also, can I just say that it took up until starting to watch the movies to realize that Kyubey is just the middle of the word incubator?
Yeah. And it's also the same root for incubus.
Oh,
that band. Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's name means something. If you want, I can go through everybody's fucking name. But
I
don't have time.
Exactly.
The yellow one is named Mommy because she's the oldest one, so she's like their mommy.
Sure. She's actually named after a warrior who's famous for cutting off the head of one of her enemies.
Dang.
There you
go. I guess I actually have to look that up.
Yeah, no, it's.
I wonder if anybody who knew that, like, saw that coming and was just like, oh shit! Like, those 3 people that got that probably felt super proud of themselves.
Probably.
You know how I've been thinking about the best way to describe this. You know how I would describe the general aesthetic of the labyrinths?
Yeah.
It's Terry Gilliam meets Yellow Submarine meets Baby Einstein.
I agree. I definitely got some Terry Gilliam vibes as well.
Oh yeah.
Being well, I was again going back to middle school. Like that's when I discovered Monty Python, and then I was all about it throughout middle school. And then I was like, you know what? There's no replay value for any of this. So yeah, but I still remember all of it. Once you memorize an entire movie, it's dead to you.
Yeah.
Also,
but I keep watching Homestar Runner.
That's why when I really love something, I like to not watch it too much. I like to keep it like precious and pure.
Oh yeah, totally.
Be it like the cheese witch, that's very Yellow Submarine.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I guess Homura. We should talk about Homura.
Yeah, that
now.
Homura episode. Homura, with this recent viewing, Homura became one of my favorite characters in anything. It's such a compelling, multifaceted arc that she goes through.
Yeah.
Because the idea that she's got such this passion for Madoka that she's willing to go to such lengths, but the idea that she really does lose sight of her original goal, and it really does break her.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When we like episode 1, we meet her already going through all that. She's just a husk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Urabuchi said that she probably went through this cycle upwards of 100 times.
That's some good. It's Groundhog Day.
Yeah, but
and Bill Murray is a tiny 13-year-old girl.
It's way more brutal than Groundhog Day, because Groundhog Day was one goddamn day. This was a month. There are a bunch of those days where she probably, there was nothing important she could do. So she just, I don't know, practiced devil sticks or something so she could, have some kind of hobby.
She collected more and more fucking guns.
Yeah. I actually think that was raw as shit. She was like, I need to find a weapon. So she robs the Yakuza.
Honestly, that's the one thing I'm still, about, is the fact that, she's a magical girl and her main weapons are just real fucking gun weaponry bullets and shit. And she does... So it's it became a matter of, do they even need to be... if she can just shoot bullets at them to kill them, someone just call the military. You don't need to be magic to do it. Homer just proved it. She shot that witch
Well, no
dead.
one else can see that. Only the magical girl
Idiot.
can see that.
But okay, but also just the imagery of this tiny child with automatic weaponry, it just felt so
She's not a child anymore.
Well,
she's literally lived enough times to not be a kid anymore.
Yeah, but I just meant visually. The visual of it was just on the surface level, my gut instinct was it was laughable, and then I was if I had seen this show in middle school, I probably would have thought that was the coolest shit, and I'd be embarrassed about it today.
Yeah, I just remember Homer just pulling out that LMG and just emptying.
Fuck,
yeah.
It's like it's like the Matrix. It's like the elevator scene in the Matrix.
Well, I loved it because it was she got this weapon that was not really a weapon, and she was like, okay, what do I do? And she's like, well, I'm just gonna use real fucking weapons.
She can time travel, stop time, and she's got infinite mouth space.
Well, she can only time travel that 1 month. And after that episode, we learned that the opening theme song the entire time has been from her perspective, not Madoka's, as we were led to believe. Going by the lyrics and the tone of it. Just a lot of the stuff in the theme song is from previous timelines.
Yeah, it's the last one is I won't give in no matter what.
Yeah. And somebody did an interesting video where if you replace Madoka in the video with Homura for all of those scenes, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh no, I'm about to cry probably. Oh, that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, I know, it's really sad. Homura makes me cry. I can't.
Wait, even the goofy scene where it's Afro, but being bitten by a dog. Is it everything but that?
No, because they include that too. Because you can also put that as Homura, because in the beginning Homura was kind of clumsy and goofy and silly with her little golf club and hitting the trash can and
her asthma attack that she had.
Her heart condition.
Yeah, afterwards, Madoka and Mommy are looking at her what do you think? They're got their hands on their chins, analyzing the forensics.
Ice-T, what's your analysis?
Now, there's one thing I think is kind of an interesting idea that's been on my mind for a while about the whole, going back and repeating everything and trying to get it right. And part of this is that I just finished replaying Majora's Mask. But, I've had the idea... I come up with concepts for games all the time, but I have no marketable skills, so I'll never be able to make them. But the idea of, a game that's like Majora's Mask, where you keep going back in time until you get it right, but, in a much tighter, smaller scope. and more of like a fast-paced action game. And then I realized that's actually every video game.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's Mario Brothers, that's Mega Man, that's Sonic, that's Contra. That's actually already every video game.
That's the skeletal structure of a video game.
Yep.
Is that you keep doing it until you get it right.
That's why
especially much more in earlier games when they didn't have AI, so all enemies had fixed patterns. So it really was like you learn the exact motions.
That's why I always got frustrated with video games, because I'm like, I don't want to do this shit again. I just did
Me
this
too.
shit. Fuck it. I give up.
So what's crazy about this is that, like in the original version of Majora's Mask, and Majora's Mask, to be as brief as possible, really does walk the tightrope between being a fun game and being an unplayable art installation. In the original version, before the 3DS remake, the only way to save was by going back to the start of the 3-day cycle.
Oh, wow.
You could do suspension saves that would delete when you loaded them. But the only way to do a permanent save was to play the song in time, go back to the first day. They changed that in the remake because it's like, we got to make this fucking playable.
I don't want to do
in Homer's case, she is 30 days between save points. She's got to go through that's so maddening to me. Like, I think I could handle Groundhog Day for a while, like being stuck in Groundhog Day. I think after 2 cycles of what Homer is doing, I would lose my fucking mind.
Oh yeah, no, totally. A whole month.
Because you have to wait. There's so much downtime between those critical moments.
Yeah, and there's a lot of being helpless.
Like at that point, you would just feel like nothing is real because it's all just a rehearsed thing around you.
You'd get so detached, like you would
Honestly, I feel like they didn't
spill cranberry juice on your pants and be like, "Ah, fuck it, I'll go back."
I feel like they didn't like that. That's something they could have done more with Hammer. Because on one hand, they did that in the first episode. Well, she knows who everybody is and where the nurse's office is. But then it's like when Sayaka got the jump on her with the freaking fire extinguisher, I was like, how did that not happen ever in any other iteration of her doing this?
Every time she goes back, she messes the time stream up even more.
So things are different in ways that she's not making it happen. So are there just quantum inconsistencies happening?
Yeah, I mean, she's fucked things up so much, it's gotten to the point where it's not even predictable anymore.
I suppose.
Yeah, there's a basic framework, but a lot of the muscle tissue is different, I guess, to make a bad analogy.
Because they do play the time travel pretty loose, just because there's that whole thing at the very end where it's because her reason for going back is linked to Madoka, that Madoka is the center of the goddamn universe.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the first timeline, Madoka was already a magical girl when she
That's
met
what
her.
I was
and
trying
in this
to bring
timeline,
up.
She's not through the whole and that changes everything.
Yeah, because the first day Halmar was there, she gets rescued, and Madoka's like, "Oh, I've only been a magical girl for a week."
Yeah.
So that didn't happen in the final timeline.
No.
Which is not the final timeline. It gets rewritten twice. Whatever.
That doesn't happen.
It gets rewritten once.
Once.
Okay. That episode is so compelling to me because, you really do see her love and her adoration for Madoka. It really does get sort of warped to this
obsession.
Yeah, she's basically just going by inertia. She can't stop doing it.
If she does, then she everything
witches.
she works for becomes undone.
I mean,
she turns into a witch. Madoka suffers in the end.
The only thing that stopped her from doing it was when QB dropped the ball, and she was like, even if I keep going back, it just makes things worse objectively, so there's literally nothing I can do.
Yeah.
And that was the reveal all along. There was nothing she could do at all, at all. Her entire thing was utterly pointless.
Yeah, and Cuba's like, this is helping me. Every time you do this, we get a bigger energy spike from Madoka. It's great. No problems whatsoever. Great
Keep up the great work.
Bitch. I kick his ass.
Yeah.
That's the fun thing, is that you can just keep kicking his ass because he keeps coming back.
And then he'll eat his weird tofu body.
He's a little tofu cat.
Oh dear. I mean, that episode was just so powerful, and I guess I related to Homura in a way, in a sense. I mean, obviously I hadn't endured anything like that before, but, you know, that sort of like blinding love for someone that doesn't make any sense, but it becomes all you have. Like, Homura, is conveniently an orphan. When we were introduced to her, she just got out of the hospital. She doesn't seem to have any family. She doesn't have any friends. And Homura and Madoka is the first person, presumably in her whole life, who likes her and is nice to her and treats her like she's worth being around. And that just means everything to her. And this person, for her, is like the only, in this whole fucked up world, in every timeline, she's seen it. Madoka is always this wonderful human being. No matter what happens, she always manages to keep it together and not get corrupted by everything. And she wants to protect that, and that's kind of misguided in a way. But at the same time, she just really, really loves this person and everything that she represents and everything that she is.
I mean, yeah, because that's just good character building. That's good storytelling. Like, even if a character's flaw, even if a character like does something wrong or has a flaw, like it should make sense. You should be able to see their reasoning and at the very least understand, if not relate. Which sometimes you do relate. In this case, yeah, I get it. It's good.
What's interesting to me is that, she's doing all this to save this person, but technically she's trying to save a person that she wrote out of existence by going back in time. Every one of these Madokas is, depending on what kind of definition of the self, what kind of philosophy you subscribe to, and certainly by the one that I subscribe to, these are all different people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, slightly, yeah.
And often different by her actions. Her actions are shaping who Madoka is and becomes in these different timelines.
Yeah.
Especially in these later timelines where she's so cold and so detached and just going through the motions. Compare the first meeting to the last meeting of the two. Madoka's very uncomfortable and less outgoing and friendly in the last one because she's terrified of this crazy fat-faced lady.
Well, it's also because Homura has been taking the magical girl out of her. Because Madoka always sort of had these insecurities, and being a magical girl fulfilled something in her. And Homura preventing her from doing this, she never found that outlet of self-fulfillment. That's why when we see her in the timeline of the show, she's like really self-deprecating. It's like, what am I doing? Who am I? She has this desire to do something and to be someone. Like in her original timeline, her wish, which was later revealed in like an audio, what are those things called? Those audiobook things, drama CDs?
Drama CDs.
In a drama CD, her original wish, it was kind of a similar situation where she encountered these magical girls, she fell in love with the idea, and her wish was very simple. There was a cat that was going to get run over, and she wished to save the cat's life because she didn't want the cat to die. And it's the only wish, other than the wish she makes at the end of the show, that's actually simple and pure. There aren't
simple and clean. I'm sorry.
And that, like, she genuinely didn't want the cat to get hurt, and she knew that's what she wanted, so that's what she wished for. And at the end of the show, she's like, I don't want these girls to feel pain. It makes me upset. I don't want that to happen anymore. And it's like, so
cut it out.
Cut it out. So like, either as simple or as major as her wishes are, they actually are, unlike all the other girls, true and pure because they're coming from a very honest place. And she doesn't she thinks for the last wish, obviously she thinks about it for a long time. And the first wish, she makes it so simple. That's why there's that cat in the opening sequence.
Oh, I
fuck.
thought that was Luna.
Yeah.
But then that doesn't make sense that it's Hamura. Everything, you broke it.
Well, maybe she's sad because she's like, why did she save you? Sacrifice herself, or I don't know.
What was Mommy's wish? To not completely die in that car accident?
Yeah, she wanted to live. And what she really wanted was for everything, for her whole family to live, like for everything to be okay. But she just wished for herself to live, so, QB only saved her, but not her whole life that she wanted to be restored.
Yeah. Genie wishes, man. They always suck.
So I guess was that just her parents' swanky apartment that she lived in?
I don't know, dog.
That was a nice apartment.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know how Homer got that place.
That slice of cake with like the cross-hatching drizzle icing, and I'm like, that's a lot of presentation for like a house. Your house doesn't have any stars, let alone 5. Calm down. We didn't talk about this, and I guess it'll be brief. I mean, the teacher's the best.
With the eggs.
Yeah.
But I love that talk she has with the mom. Like, after Sayaka's funeral. And the mom was just like, I don't know what's going on with my kid, and I'm scared. And it's like, oh, man. No.
Her mom is the best.
Like, the stuff with her mom was really interesting. And, like, they didn't really need to have it there. But I guess that was part of, like, the whole subverting the genre thing. Because in a lot of those magical girls, like, the parents are, like, totally oblivious and they're not in the equation whatsoever.
Yeah, they don't matter. And if anything, they're a hindrance.
Yeah, whereas in this show, they actually tried to address, like, how that would be a strain on your relationship with your parents and, like, what that would do to your parents. And that was kind of neat, because it's not a perspective that you see all the time.
Because it's normally something that's just difficult to write around.
Yeah, but also I just like it's one of those rare things of like a really solid, realistic like a family. Like, you believe that somebody as pure and just kind and just the perfect child as Madoka came from this really nice family. Like, yeah, I buy it.
Yeah, I mean, her family is really nice, and she's just a really nice girl.
She's a good kid.
She's the best kid. I mean, she's able to, through Homura's help, through her weird, maybe misguided help, able to endure all this stuff and, like...
And become God.
Madokami. A+ pun. A+ portmanteau.
The fandom calls her Gadoka.
Madokami is better.
Okay.
Do you not agree?
I do agree. I agree. But that's just Kami makes me think of the Dragon Ball Z character.
I think the official, studio name or whatever, production name for her is Ultimate Madoka or something. I don't know. Maybe.
It's just
Cyber War Madokamon.
Mecha Madoka from Planet X.
I mean, she's the most powerful thing in the universe. She is the definition of ultimate.
When's she gonna fight Godzilla?
Actually, Urobuchi is a really big fan of kaiju and Godzilla, and he wanted the witches to originally be like kaiju monsters.
Then it would have been literally my favorite. Then we all could have talked about our favorite anime of all time, but they fucked it up. They were so close.
Here's the thing about me. Let's get a little personal, and this is something I talk to like anybody about. I haven't cried in 2 years, and I'm dying because of it. Crying is my grief seed. I've got a lot of self-inflicted emotional and mental stress all the time, and I need to release that. And I was hoping this show would do that for me. And I did cry a little bit during the scene in space, I guess? But it wasn't what I needed.
Emotional.
It's a great scene. And I cried a little bit the first time I saw it, and I cried a little bit this time. I wanted to be devastated because I need to vent pressure. I haven't cried properly since I read Nika Badzis' graphic novel Laika about Laika, the dog Laika, and oh my god, I read that at work when I worked at a pool monitor, which is like a lifeguard, but you're not allowed to save people because we don't have that kind of insurance. And
you gotta let them die.
This is Florida, so in case you're curious on what the fuck I was talking about. This is Florida. So luckily nobody came to the pool that day, because I was just bawling.
I'm just picturing like a completely deserted pool with one person in it weeping.
One person in khakis and a ball cap sitting in the corner.
Like I wanted to like that would be on somebody's like aesthetic blog on like their Instagram or something. Put a filter over it.
There were security cameras. There might be footage of that. Of me crying at work about space
floating
dogs.
out there somewhere in the dataverse.
Yeah, so... And then I was going to the movie and I'm like, hopefully this will devastate me. It didn't.
It devastated me in a different way.
Yeah.
I don't need it to hate me. I didn't mind the third movie.
I didn't either. I know why you got mad, and I think it was weird, but it wasn't. I didn't get, but I didn't.
Why
get mad.
you got Madoka?
Do we want to go into that? Or is there anything else about the series you want to finish up first?
I mean,
I think we've encapsulated the series.
We can go into it
because we're probably going to be discussing the movie for a minute.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack with this series. You know, it would take 300 years.
Oh yeah, totally. And that's with any good thing.
Yeah, it's such a thoughtful and well realized show. It's got a lot. This was my thing with like Utna, is that I felt like it was trying to say a lot of stuff, but like didn't succeed, and at the end there was nothing to unpack. There's a lot to unpack about this.
Absolutely. And
maybe that's just bias because I like this on a surface level, and so I'm willing to look beneath the surface where I didn't like Utna on a surface level, so that what's underneath the surface can go fuck itself.
I think that's an important distinction to make, though. I think that if you want to have subtext, you need to have stuff on top of the subtext that's enjoyable enough for people to stick with it.
Yeah, and I know people would argue that stuff is in Utna. Fine, I don't agree.